Hello, everybody. Hello. How's everybody doing today? Hope y'all are doing good. Hope you had a less busy day than I had, because I had a pretty busy day today. And playing was a good day. Some good stuff worked out, but man, in fact, these last couple of weeks have been busy for you, boy. But yet, I still got to carve up that time so I come here with y'all and give you this word. I appreciate you for being here. I'll give a couple minutes, see if we get some other people want to party with us. If not, we'll go ahead and get started. How you doing in person? I can't see exactly who it is just yet, but appreciate you for joining us. Just giving a couple of minutes for others to join. Yeah, we're gonna get started. Actually, I'm just hook my charger up and I'm gonna get started. I got an not intro, a review to do anyway. Had a brain fart there for a second. My charger hooked up just in case. All right, so how y'all doing today on this wonderful, I don't know where you at, if it's raining where y'all at, but man, it stormed out here today. I mean, it came down, and the reason I said my day was so crazy because part of the job I do environmental work, and I have to get a stormwater sample. What up, Ant? Glad you're in here, man. Appreciate you being here. But I had to go get what they call a stormwater sample, so I actually have to go out when it's raining hard and lightning and stuff. I actually, twice a year, I have to go out while it's doing the storm and collect a sample of the water. So y'all can guarantee you that's not one of my favorite things to do for my job. But, you know, it is what it is. And the worst part about it is, like, where I have to go get the sample is kind of off-site. So I have to kind of go, like, outside of the, like, what would be, I guess, civilized part of our plant, and go actually down in the woods and grab the sample. And, like, they hadn't cut the grass here recently, so the grass is like 3-4 foot tall. I'm worried I'm going to get bit in the butt by something. So I was a little nervous, and it was so funny, because, you know, it's in all things you're supposed to pray. So when I saw that grass and how that grass was, and I had to walk through this high grass, and not only do I have to walk through the grass, when I get the sample, I had to get like down on my knees to sample it. And, you know what I'm saying? I can't see nothing around me, so if there's a snake in there, it just got me kind of thing. So when I was whole time walking through the grass, and the whole time I was getting a sample, I was just like, walk by faith, not by sight. Every time I took a step, walk by faith. Man, I was praying so hard to God get me back, and I got my sample and got back up there safely. Nothing bit me in my butt. At least I didn't feel anything. So I thank God for that. So I thank y'all for being here with me today. I'm definitely thankful I can be here today without no kind of injury or anything. And I appreciate y'all for joining me. I'm Brother John Stewart on behalf of the Lost Sheep Ministry, on behalf of sponsored by River Lake Baptist Church. And I'm here to bring y'all the word today. We've been doing this series for these last 3 weeks. And honestly, y'all, and I don't want y'all to think I'm like some genius, because I know we've been doing these lessons. They've been really good lessons. I just didn't, when I started this, I did not realize how much and how deep this chapter of Samuel was until I started going through it and putting this lesson together, and the Spirit showed it to me. You know, I thought it was just something we just kind of breeze through. It's really kind of, to be honest, it's an introduction to the book of Samuel. The first few chapters really kind of introduction before Samuel, because he hadn't even, the Lord hadn't even started talking to Samuel just yet. But just in this introduction, it's been so wonderful. It's been so magnificent that I was like, man, I got to take my time with this. And that's why this is the 3rd week that we've been spending on it. And I don't want to rush it. And I don't want to do no 3-4 hour videos, because I know the people, y'all had them short attention span, especially when it comes to things of the Lord, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to try to do another 5 points tonight, maybe finish the second paragraph. And then hopefully next week we'll be able to finish the last paragraph and go on through. But like I said, I'm not going to rush it. I think this is a really important lesson here. I actually did a sermon last night, and once I finished this lesson up, I'll share this sermon with y'all. But I did a sermon last night. It was called Hating the Truth Because You Love the Lie. You know, and I just talked about how we've gotten so used to the lies and the deception that when you do have somebody out there that's bringing truth, people actually oppose that truth. They actually fight for that lie. So I kind of talked about that. So that'll be the game plan once we finish this up. But I do want to finish this up, and I do want to take my time with it, because I think it's a very important lesson, especially when we see what's going on in our country with our youth today. And y'all might have noticed my voice is sound a little bit scratchy, and that's because I was in Texas all last week. I thank God for letting me make it back from there. I was in Texas all last week, and man, I was hooking up with old family and friends. Hold on a second. Oh yeah, just right. And I basically talked every day last week, and then I had to preach. I preached Saturday while I was in Texas. I preached yesterday night. I got to preach tonight, and then I got to preach again tomorrow. So I'm trying to do everything I can to reserve my voice. So if I keep taking sips, it's because this is some warm tea that hopefully keep my vocal cords loosened up. But again, I thank y'all for joining me tonight. I hope everybody's having a good day. What up, yo? Speaking of the devil, that's one of the people I was out there hanging with, had me doing all this talking. But we mostly being silly, talking about the old stuff we used to get into. But I appreciate you being here tonight, man. So again, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the lesson. The title of tonight's lesson is When You Hate Your Children. And of course, this is part 3 of this lesson that we're doing. We've done, if you want to catch, I'm going to kind of go through what we did in part 2. I'm not going to cover what we did in part 1. If you want to see those videos or get more of the details on those, go back and watch it. It is on my Facebook, posted on my Facebook page. Haven't got it to my YouTube page just yet because I've been busy, but I would get it there eventually. So I'm going to start off with what we went over in part 2. So part 1 was When You Hate Your Children, and I went over about 5 points of things that we do, because we realize we do a lot of stuff for our kids. And we think we're helping our kids. We think because we're doing these things, we're sure telling our kids we love them because we're doing those things. I know I'm guilty of it. Really doing too much for them. I think I told y'all, I look at my kids and I look at my hustle and I look at their hustle, and it's not the same. And the reason why my hustle is stronger than them, not because I'm better or smarter, is just it was necessary for me to hustle, whereas with them, it's not. Because they know if things don't go right, they can always run back to mom and dad. And, and that's what it's supposed to be. That's how it should be. But in reality, you actually hurt your kids by being stable. It's weird. I'm not saying don't be stable. I'm not saying go out and start doing crack or something and mess your home up. But it's a weird thing. I saw a video one time. It says, I can't quote it directly, but the guy, he was like, he said, hard times make strong men make good times make weak men, and weak men make bad times. And that's the cycle. Matter of fact, that's kind of what he said. I mean, he said it more eloquently than I did, but that's basically what he said. He says that hard time makes strong men. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see that. Because like I said, the strength I have, the people that all people always praise me for, is because of what I went through when I was younger. Made me strong. And then it said strong men make good time. And like I said, my kids, they ain't had to go, we went in the beginning when we was kind of getting together, they went through a few things, but nothing nowhere near what I went through. And like I said, so that was the good time. And because they have so much stability, because they have a crush that they can always fall back on it, they don't have as much hustle. Not saying they're weak, but they definitely don't have the hustle that I have, and they definitely don't have the wisdom that I had, and they definitely got themselves in certain situations that I never would have got into because I knew the consequence of the action, and they knew, but they chose to do it anyway because they knew if they messed up, they had somebody to fall back on. And then it says, good times create weak men, and then weak men create bad times. So that's and that's kind of what this lesson is on, helping you see the things that you're doing. You might think you're doing them out of love. You might think you're doing them because you're giving your children better opportunities in life or whatever. But in reality, you might actually be hurting your child. And sometimes it's the things that you're doing, but as we're going to see a couple of points tonight, is a lot of time it's the things that you're not doing that's hurting them. Because if you remember when we started off was in Proverbs, one of the introduction. This is actually going to come up tonight. I think it's our first point. So I'll go ahead and read and get out the way. But Proverbs is Proverbs 13:24. 13:24. Proverbs 13:24 says this. He says, "He that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasing him betimes." So in other words, what they said, I know we have that statement, people say spare the rod, spoil the child. And that's not what it says. It says when you spare the rod, you hate your child. So you might think you're letting them get off easy. You might think you're letting them get by not spanking them, but actually, you think you're loving them, and because the parents these days, we want to have, be our kids' friends. We all together doing TikToks and little silly stuff like that, and that's cool. But your child have to respect you as a parent. If they only look at you as a friend, they're never going to respect you as a parent. And he said, and a lot of times people don't spank their kids because they want to be their friends. They don't want to be upset. But he said, if you don't spank your child, you hate them. But if you love your child, you're going to beat that. That's what he say. If you don't spank your child, if you don't spank your child, you hate them. And if you do spank your child all the time, then you must really love them. Now, not abuse, not just, I came home drunk, or I had a bad day at the office because, such and such pissed me off, so I'm going to take it out on my child. No, not that. But just spanking them. They doing something that they need to be spanked for. If you don't spank them, then you don't love your child. So I actually had a situation. Well, I'm going to the lesson. But that's what it's saying. So that's kind of what we're talking about. There's things that we do. Again, we think we're helping our children out. We think we're motivating them to be better. We think we're getting them an easier life than we had, and therefore a better life than we had. And we don't realize that by doing that, we're actually hurting that child. So, so that was the first part that I did in part one. Part two, we actually went through things that you would do if you truly loved your child. When you love your children, there's certain things you're gonna do. And we had 4 points that I covered last week, so I'm just gonna go back, read back through those real quick. So I'm continuing the lesson because this is another part. So last week, even though it was the point one last week, it was point number 6 in the overall lesson. So number 6 from last week was when you love your children, God's word will be established as the foundation of their life from the beginning. So, you know what I'm saying? So we saw here what says Samuel, though only a boy, he was the Lord's helper. In other words, he was a kid. He was a kid, so he was the Lord's helper. He had been the Lord's helper since he was a kid. And that's important. A lot of people are like, well, and I've heard this before. Oh, well, I'm going to let them grow up and form their own opinions. And then, if they want to do it, I'll do it. If you do that, 9 times out of 10, because this world, I was talking to another buddy of mine to tell you, I said, my voice is so messed up. But I was talking to another buddy of mine, and he said, man, no matter what we do, my boy RJ, like, man, no matter what we do, this world and social media and all these things is going to have an influence on our kids. No matter how good we raise them, no matter how much we give them, this world is always going to have an influence, and you always got to be weary of that. So if you say, I'm going to let them grow up and then make the decision for themselves, so I'm not forcing it on them, you're giving them to the wolves. That's all you're doing. You're giving them to the wolves. You're giving them to the devil. You got to establish a foundation of God's word when they're in the beginning. And you know what I'm saying? And I told y'all, something I do with my kids. They go to church. We go to church. We got Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. And I don't make them go all 3, but I give them one off. And it's weird, just give them that little one off, just give them some kind of freedom, because they have to go Sunday morning, because that's like, Sunday morning, but they can choose if they want to go Wednesday night or Sunday night. I give them that choice. And it seems to make it a lot smoother, help them accept it a lot more. But they know they going to church if they stay in my house. We do Bible studies. You know what I'm saying? Because when they leave my house, when they get older, they'll never be able to point their finger at me and say, Dad, you didn't guide me toward the Lord. You didn't tell me about the Lord. I didn't know about the Lord. No, I taught you. You just chose to reject it. You know what I'm saying? So but you got to lay the foundation down early, because once they start to become grown, they become their own person. If the world get a hold of them, 9 times out of 10, they're going to pull them away from you, and they definitely going to pull them away from God. So if you really love your child, God's word will be established as the foundation of their life from the beginning. Number 7 from last week, when you love your children, your life will be an example of how to love the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Your life will be, if you really love your children, you're going to make that sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? If you used to drink all the time and now you got children, you're going to put that drink down because you don't want that to be a bad influence in their life. If you used to smoke all the time, do drugs all the time, and then once you have your children, you should put that stuff down. Put in the time it takes to make sure that they know the Lord. Put in the time it takes. You know what I'm saying? You want them to be at church every Sunday? You need to be at church every Sunday. You know what I'm saying? I used to be, I was bad about that. I sent them to church, but I wasn't going myself. And that's really not setting a good example for them to follow. If you really love your children, your life is going to be that sacrifice that it needs to be. And that's why, you know what I'm saying, people like, why you don't smoke weed no more? Well, I made that sacrifice because I want my kids to have a better life. I want to have a close relationship with God, for one. And two, I don't want that around my house. I don't want to bring it into my house and around my kids and expose them to it. Because, you know what I'm saying, honestly, I love smoking weed, but I wish my life would have been so much more, a lot easier had I not smoked it. You know what I'm saying? Had I not picked up that joint that first time. You see what I'm saying? So I don't want to be the one. Now, it's going to come to them because they teenagers and they go to school and things like that. But I don't want to be the one that introduce it to them. So that's what you understand. Yes, they're going to come across alcohol. Yes, they're going to come across weed. Yes, girls going to come across boys and boys going to come across girls. But you shouldn't be the one introducing it to them. Your life should be a sacrifice to show them how they should live and how they should love God. So that was number 7 for last week. Number 8 from last week. When you love your children, you would pray for them to be used of God. And we saw here where it said each time they was getting ready to leave and head back home, Elkanah and his wife get ready to head back home, you know, the preacher or the priest Eli, he prayed for them and said, may the Lord give you other children to take the place of this one that you gave to the Lord. And see, she gave a child to the Lord. That was her prayer. And you remember, when we go back to the beginning of the story, that was her prayer. You know what I'm saying? She prayed to the Lord like, Lord, if you give me a child, then I'm going to give him back to you. If you go back to chapter 1, that's what started this whole thing. She was, you know, she couldn't have children, didn't have any children, was embarrassed because of it. So she went into the Lord and prayed to the Lord. Lord, if you give me a child, I'll give him to you. And that should be your ultimate goals as a parent. You know what I'm saying? We got parents out here, they want their kids to be the 5th generation doctor or the 5th generation lawyer. They want to be in the NFL. And that stuff is nice. You know what I'm saying? I had dreams. I love to see my son out there playing college ball and all that. But my main goal for their life is for them to be godly people, to have a close walk with the Lord. And if they can do anything for the Lord, you know what I'm saying, that'll just please my heart. So that should be your ultimate goal for your kids' life, that they'll be used of God, and that's what you should pray for when you pray for them. And I gave you some examples of things that I pray for when I pray for my kids. I went through, I prayed, I told you I prayed that they'll be used by God. First of all, I prayed for them to find his will for life and have the wisdom to follow that will. I pray for them to have the wisdom to watch who they spend their time with and what they spend their time doing. And I pray for them, God, to have mercy on them if they ever did anything to turn their back on him or to curse him in their heart. Those are the things that I pray for my kids on a regular basis. You know what I'm saying? Because I want them to be used of the Lord. So that was number 8 of last week. And then last one that we went over last week, number 9, when you love your children, they will grow up in the presence of the Lord continually. And we saw where it ended in verse 21, where it says, and the Lord gave Hannah 3 more sons and 2 daughters. And meanwhile, Samuel grew up in the presence of the Lord. He was always in the presence of the Lord. And I talked about how if you want your kids to be in the presence of the Lord continually, then you yourself are going to have to be in the presence of the Lord continually. Because as long as you're in the presence of the Lord, your kids will be in the presence of the Lord. But if you're not in the presence of the Lord, they might stand in the presence of the Lord for a little while, but eventually they're going to stray away. So again, it's all about, if you love your kids, it's all about making that sacrifice and doing the things it takes to make sure they have a close relationship with God, but more importantly, knowing what they need to do to be successful in this life. So that was the review. I went through in my little introduction. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this lesson for the night. I'm going to go ahead and pray, then we're going to jump into the lesson for the night. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for watching over us today. Definitely thank you for keeping me safe. I'm still, I was so nervous going down there getting that sample because, like I said, it's off in the woods and the grass was high and it was storming and lightning, but you had your hand of protection over me the whole time and brought me back home so I can do this lesson tonight. So I pray that you be with me as I go through this lesson tonight. Continue to shine your love and grace down upon my family. Continue to use us in the mighty way to do your work, Lord. And as I'm speaking this hard and teaching this lesson to the people, I pray you let it touch my heart as well. These are some of the things that I was able to form these points, and I knew about these points because of your Holy Spirit's guidance and because of experience from things that I've done myself. So I pray, Lord, that you let this touch the hearts of the parents out there, help them see how important it is to do the things that they need to do to make sure their kids have a close relationship with you. You know what I'm saying? Do the things that they need to do to make sure their kids know how to act, know how to behave, know how to do the things that a human being should know how to do, and help them see that if they don't put the time and effort into do it, help them see if they don't make the sacrifice they need to make, that got their kids along the wrong path, then all they're doing is setting their kids up for destruction, as we're going to see in this lesson here tonight. So I ask you just be with me, see your spirit down upon me, strengthen my voice. I got a little bit left. I got 2 more days to make it, so I pray that I can make it through this lesson tonight, and definitely through the lesson tomorrow as well, as we meet with this lost sheep. And I pray you just send your spirit upon my heart and mind as I prepare to go through this lesson, Lord, and teach the people so they may have the truth they need. They can maybe go and guide their children, or it ain't even necessarily got to be their children. It can be their nephews and nieces or whatever, Lord. Guide them in the direction that they need to go. And also actually let your spirit work on the hearts and the minds of those that's watching this video, whether they watching it live or they watching it later on. Let it touch their hearts and bring them under conviction so they may do the things they need to do so they may raise their kids up in the way they should go. We thank you so much for everything. Say this prayer in your wonderful Son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right, let me get some more of my tea. It's going to be rough on me, but that's all right. I got my tea here, and you see it's strengthening just a sip and strengthen it back up a little bit more. So if y'all got your Bibles, we're going to be, once again, over the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 2. We're going to start verses 20. We're going to try to do 22 through 26 tonight. And again, just 4 verses, but it's just so much. Like I said, I thank God for revealing this to me. I really had no clue of how deep this chapter was. I thought, like I said, when I first initially was, preparing this, like, I just breezed through it. And, you know what I'm saying? Because it's more of introduction to Samuel anyway. I want to get to Samuel. And when God started talking to Samuel, but man, he just started pulling this stuff out, and it's so deep. And I pray that it's helping y'all just as much as it's helping me, seeing where I went wrong. And I pray that if you're watching this and you're doing these things, that you'll have the heart and be brought on the conviction to change before it's too late. So again, if you got your Bibles open in 1 Samuel chapter 2, we're going to start at verse 22. As always, I'm reading out the New Living Translation, but I am a King James believer wholeheartedly, believe in King James. Well, my ministry is the Lost Sheep Ministry. It's for people that don't necessarily had a close relationship to the Lord yet, or maybe uneducated because they've been hustling their whole life. I'm out there for the down and out, the broken ones, and they don't always understand if you read the King James. So I like to read the New Living Translation so to make sure everybody understands what's being said. But I am a King James believer. When I preached my sermon last night, I preached out the King James when I did it at the church. And but I am a King James believer, so I'm not being a heretic, but I just want to make sure my people understand what's being said. So again, the last we left off, we saw some things. We had like a little blip. We saw some things that these parents did, Hannah and her husband, the things they was doing, just show their kids that they really loved them. They made sure, they prayed for Samuel to be used of the Lord. They made sure he was in the presence of the Lord. They lived their life as a sacrifice to him, showing him what he needed to do to love the Lord. And they did everything they needed to do to show their kid that they really love him. And we're going to see that he knew he was loved, and he's going to end up not only being loved by men, but by God himself, because God is going to use him to do a mighty work. So now we're going to get back into the hatred. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get back to the hate. That's why I only did the 4 last week, because the 4 deal with love. Now we're going to get back to hate. If I get all 5 of the points I got here tonight done, then we got 1 love at the end. So we're going to start out bad and end good, but we'll see how it goes. So starting over in verse 22 of chapter 2, the Lord tells us this. He said, now Eli was very old, but he was aware. And that's the thing. He was old, but he was aware of what his sons were doing to the people of Israel. He knew, for instance, that his sons were seducing the young women who assisted at the entrance of the tabernacle. Ain't this something? So he was old, but he knew. So he knew everything was going on, but he didn't do anything about it. And see, that's going to take us to point number 10. Number 10 is this. And this is actually the main point. This is when I first started putting this lesson together. This is one of the main points of the lesson. That's why I said when you hate your children. And it just finally came up in number 10. But it goes back to what we read in Proverbs number 13, verse 13, chapter 13, verse 24. And then it's this. When you hate your children, you will not discipline your children. When you hate your children, you will not discipline your children. It said, what's going on, Kelly? Glad you could be here, brother. Glad you're here with me tonight. It said, you know what I'm saying? It said, when you hate your children, you will not discipline your children. Because again, he says, now Eli was very old, but he was aware of what his sons was doing. He knew what his sons was doing. It ain't like he had no clue, and I never could have guessed that. He knew exactly what they was doing, and he didn't do anything about it. And again, we'll just say in Proverbs 13:24. It says, Proverbs chapter 13, verse 24, he that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loved him chastened him betime. See, if he really loved his sons, he would have been spanking their butts. It ain't no, oh, I'm hearing about what you're doing. It ain't a big deal. They would have got their butt tore up. Matter of fact, something I deal with my kids, and this might spoil them too, but this is something I deal with my kids. Me and my boys, we have what we always had, because I wanted my boys, like with my girls, girls is more, you just got to spend time with them, let them know you love them, let them know you're there for them, you can support them no matter what. That's more with girls, but with boys, you got to have a good, strong relationship with boys, and you got to beat the butt, first of all, but at the same time, you got to let them grow, and you got to let them make their mistakes and try to guide them in direction. So what I did to try to be able to encourage them to do so, you know what I'm saying? Like and I said, look, you're going to make mistakes. This is what I told my son. I said, you're going to make mistakes. So I tell you what, if you make a mistake, especially if it ain't something that I ain't taught, now if it's something I've already talked to you about and you do, and then you just did it and you get your butt whooped. I like, but if you make a mistake, you end up hanging out with the wrong person, you end up in the wrong situation, and you make a mistake. If you come to me first and let me know, and confess it, basically, snitch on yourself. If you come to me first and let me know, like, hey, Dad, I did this thing, don't think it's going to work out good or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I just want to give you the heads up. I said, if you come to me first, I'll be a little bit more lenient. I'm not going to let it slide, but I will be a little bit more lenient. You know what I'm saying? I said, but if I hear about it and you know what I'm saying, if you've done it and I hear about it and you don't come to me first, then I'm going to tear your butt up. You know what I'm saying? And they said Eli was hearing about it. So they didn't come to him and was like, Dad, I'm doing it. He was hearing about it, and yet he did nothing. You know why? Because he hated his children. He hated his children. Because we think not spanking them, because that's what the society has done today. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't spank your child. It messes with them psychologically. Yeah, it's going to mess with them psychologically. Because every time they get ready to do something, they're going to think about that butt whooping they're going to get. You know what I'm saying? I'll never forget when I was little, I actually got caught stealing one time. I got caught stealing, and my grandma, she was older. She was old, so she couldn't spank me, but not really spank me. Even though my grandma could get down, don't get me wrong. But like if I did something real bad, she got my uncle to spank me, and this guy was a monster. Not that he abused me, just like, man, he knew how to spank some butt. I'll tell you that much. And I never forget, I got caught stealing once. I hang with this dude, and this dude convinced me to steal something. And I got caught stealing, and man, I was sick because I just knew I had a butt whooping waiting on me. So thank God when I got home, my Uncle Randy, he was at work. So you know what I did? I went to sleep. Like maybe if I go to sleep, he won't, you know what I'm saying, he won't come in and wake me up. Now if it was bad enough, they'll wake you up out of your sleep. I know once I can't remember when my cousin did something, and he beat him out of his sleep. You know what I'm saying? But for me, you know, I went home, I went to sleep. And you know what I'm saying, I even heard him, like I heard him when he came in, and I was like, I'm just going to continue to play sleep or whatever. And I heard him walk in the room, he looked over there, like, look at his butt. Went over there and went to sleep. He's all right, I'm going to get him tomorrow, you know, kind of thing. But I was terrified because I knew I messed up and I knew what was waiting on me. But if you don't have no consequences for your actions, what's going to keep you from doing things? Look at how kids are these days. Look how wild they are. Why? Because there's no consequences for their actions no more. You know what I'm saying? You can't even say that. They used to talk about how it takes a village to raise a kid, and we used to do that. Like I tell people all the time when people ask me like, how did I make it out of North Memphis? And I tell because North Memphis raised me. You know what I'm saying? There was several people around our neighborhood that always made sure I was where I was supposed to be at. You know, and they saw me somewhere that I wasn't supposed to be at. They checked, hey, what are you doing over here? You know what I'm saying? You supposed to be on your way to community center. I remember there's this one guy that his name was Jimmy. And he always had a Jerry curl. He always had some crease in his jeans. That's what I remember about Jimmy. Good dude. And he used to stand on the corner that was right as I was going down to the gym, which I spent most of my time at the community center. And you know what I'm saying? So I was going on, when I'm walking, you know, I got to pass the block, you know, where all the drug dealers and stuff hang out at. So, you know what I'm saying? He'd be like, hey, where you going? I was like, man, I'm going to the gym. Get your butt on down there. He said, no, I don't want to see you go nowhere else. He said, I'm going to sit here and watch you. So, you know what I'm saying? So I keep on walking, and I would get down a few feet, you know what I'm saying? And then I turn around, I look back, he looking dead at me. You know what I'm saying? And he would stay there and watch me until I got up to the community center. And then he'd go back to doing what he was doing. You see what I'm saying? They had the right to do that. That's the village raising a child. But you can't say nothing to a child these days. You know what I'm saying? The teacher called the parents, hey, your kid is like, yeah, it ain't him acting up. You just don't like my son. Blah, 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 that. And you know what I'm saying? And they can't even do nothing to the children no more. And that's why the children, they have all the authority. You know what I'm saying? Children, our government has gotten us to a point where our kids have more authority than we do. Because if we say don't do something and they do it, and then we spank them like we supposed to, like the Bible said we should, and then they put it on TikTok or something, next thing you know, we're the one in jail. You see what I'm saying? They tell us not to spank our kids, but yet when they get older, they'll be the one that spank them. They tell us not to beat them, but when they get older, they're the one that's beating them. They tell us not to punish them so they can get older and let them punish them and make some money off of them because they throwing them in prison, throwing them in jail, or put them in the graveyard. You see what I'm saying? You hate your children when you don't spank your children because you subject them to these things. You subject them to the discipline of others. You subject them to the judgment of others. And I'm actually getting ahead of myself, but that's what you got to realize what you're doing. That's why it says, and the man that spread the rod hateth his child. You're not helping that child. When your child is in Walmart and want a bag of Skittles and you don't give them that bag of Skittles and they just throw an absolute fit, and you're going to be on timeout, all that. You're hurting that child. You are not helping that child. You take that child out there to that car, you wear that child butt out, you know what I'm saying, and then you go back in there start. I guarantee you they're gonna know how to behave, and I guarantee you they're not gonna do it later. You know, I spanked all my kids, but guess what? When my kids got to a certain point, matter of fact, see, my boys are 20-something, my girls are 17 and 14, and my brother's 14. And honestly, just about all, except for my brother, but it's only because we got him later down the road, just about all of them, by the time they got 10, 11, I haven't had to spank them since. You see what I'm saying? Now, you know why? Because they know if they do something spank worthy, they will get a spanking. But when we don't do that, we tell our kids we don't love them. We don't discipline our kids. We tell our kids we don't love them. You see what I'm saying? What up, Troy? I'm glad you're here too, man. I appreciate it. It's all good. It's all good. I'm glad you're here now. So we tell our kids that we don't love them. And I got a perfect example. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect parent. Like I said, most of the stuff I'm teaching y'all is from my mistakes as a parent. But I had a situation one time with my youngest son. Now, it was weird because my youngest son, I can't explain, like when he was young, up until he was about 14 and 15, like, he was just like, honestly, like the perfect son. I ain't saying none of my kids, but he was like the perfect son. He was responsible. You know what I'm saying? He didn't mind working. You know what I'm saying? He did what he was supposed to. If he said he was somewhere, he was there. I mean, I literally, like, completely trusted this kid. You know what I'm saying? And then when he got about 16, started really getting the girls, it changed. You know what I'm saying? But I was still kind of treating him like that good kid because he watched out for his brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, on my three sons, he was the most mature, even though he was the youngest. And my middle son, he's a high functioning autism. So, I mean, he's a good kid, but he has autism. So, you know how it is. He don't understand social things and things of that nature. So we always call my youngest son, his Jiminy Cricket, because that's how he was. He was like his conscious kind of thing. And he was faithful in taking care of his brother. You know what I'm saying? He was faithful. Whatever chore he had, you know what I'm saying? He did his chore to the best of his ability. You know what I'm saying? So he was a good kid up until about 14 to 15. Then about 15, 16, he started kind of going another way. He started rebelling. Me and him started butting heads, and it's really because he started to be like more like me. You know, two opposites attract. So two that's the same, you're gonna butt heads. So we started butting heads. And I was like, so he started doing stuff that I normally wouldn't let, I had certain rules. Like, for instance, one of my rules is Monday through Friday, there's no going nowhere. There's no parties, no nothing. During the school week, you don't go anywhere on school nights. You know what I'm saying? The only thing you can do from Sunday night through Thursday night is, come home, if we got church, go to church, come home, get your homework and all that done, read if you want to, but you're not going nowhere. You don't go over a friend's house, you don't have company over Sunday through Thursday. That's my goal. One of my rules, they used to go to bed around 9:30 to 10. So about 9:30, 10 o'clock, after 10 o'clock, those cell phones, you got cell phone, they come up front. You know what I'm saying? I put them in my office. You're not going to have your phone overnight. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to if you have a girl over, she's not going to be laying in your bed. You know what I'm saying? If you go over the house, you're not going to be, it was a lot of rules. And like I said, we kind of had a falling out where what happened was, when he was like 16, I think he was 16, he had a football injury and he tore his ACL, and it really hurt him. I mean, he went down. That was like the first time I ever seen him cry. because I mean he really loved football. So to find out that he got, had to sit out for a year, had to have this certain all that, you know what I'm saying? And that's when things really started to change with him, really, too. So, you know what I'm saying? So I think I kind of felt bad and sympathetic for him. So he started doing little stuff, and I was letting him get away with it. Now, if it'd been my other boys, I would have been all on top of him, but because it was him, I was kind of letting him slide. Because I'm like, well, still my good kid. I let him have his girlfriend over, even though it's, Sunday through Thursday. You know what I'm saying? If they had a curfew, if you had a curfew, you had to be in at the time I specified. If you wasn't, then you weren't going out no more for the next couple of weeks a month. But he would come in late, I wouldn't say nothing. And then for a while, it had a period where he broke every rule. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, what's going on kind of thing? And I was like, kind of letting it slide. And then one time it got to a point where it came to a head. You know what I'm saying? And and me, him, and my other son had a talk. And long story short, I didn't get all the detail, but we had a talk. And basically he was like, I don't think you love me no more. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, man, I've been doing all this stuff. I went out, I don't come in, curfew, having my girl over. You found out I snuck out the house, and I've done all this stuff, and you've done nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because it was one night, I can't remember where it was, but I told him, be back at this time. You know what I'm saying? I said, no, I don't want no excuses. Be back at this time. And he called me 40 minutes after he was already late, saying, oh, I'm going to be a little bit longer. You know what I'm saying? I'll be home in a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And he like, I called you, and I had my girlfriend listen, and I was just wanting to see what you're going to say. And I told her, I bet he don't even say nothing. You know what I'm saying? I expect you to get all over my butt. I expect to be grounded, but you didn't do nothing to me. And I told my girl, the reason why you didn't do nothing to me, because you don't love me no more. So you see, he was actually looking for that discipline. And he felt that I didn't love him because I didn't discipline him. And according to the Bible, that's true. And I didn't even realize I was doing that. I was thinking I was just letting him kind of have a little leeway. He had been through something traumatic. You know what I'm saying? He lost something that he loved so dearly. So I'm thinking I'm kind of letting him have his way a little bit, let him try to find himself. And I didn't realize what I was really doing, telling him that I didn't love him. And he actually told me it was several times that he had thought about committing suicide. You know what I'm saying? Because we got a little, because we stay in the woods and everything. And we stayed out in the woods, and we got a little place called Slick Rock. And it's like kind of like a just natural parking lot, just got gravel and stuff. And you can kind of go down into the river. We stay right by the river. And he said there was several times that I thought about, because he had my car, you know what I'm saying? Didn't even have his license. I would let him drive my car. That's how far, you know what I'm saying, far-fetched the things I was doing, letting him get away with, you know what I'm saying? And he said it was several times where I thought about driving into that river and just leaving y'all. He said, but every single time I always said, you know what I'm saying, he said, I would pray. I'm like, well, if nobody comes back within a certain amount of time, then I'm going to drive into this river. And he said, every single time I did that, a car would drive by right before I got ready to crank the car up. He said, every single time. If he did it 3-4 times, a car drove by right as he was about to drive into the river, and then he ended up coming home. You see what I'm saying? Why? Because he felt I no longer loved him. Because like I said, when he was younger, I stayed on his butt, made sure. But like I said, it wasn't that I didn't love him. It just he had always done so good. He was always a responsible kid. He was always a good kid. So I didn't feel the need, you know what I'm saying, to just put the hammer down on him. Like with my other boys, they was always messing up, so I always stayed on them. But I didn't realize by doing that, by letting him slide like I was actually telling him that I didn't love him. And he almost lost his life because of it. So we got to be careful with that. Eli knew what his sons was doing. He said he was old, but he knew what they were doing, and he wasn't correcting them. And he didn't realize that he was telling them by not correcting them that he don't love them. Y'all, this tea got me burping, so I apologize, but I got to try to preserve my voice because I got one more sermon to do tomorrow. But that really broke my heart. And then after that, I got back to put my foot in this butt when he needed it. You know what I'm saying? But the kids, they have that. They crave that. When you see these kids out here in these streets acting wild and doing all this stuff, they're doing that because they're evil, because they got demons and like that. They're doing that because they want somebody to love them. They want somebody to pay attention to them. They want somebody to come and say, hey, young man, don't do that. But a lot of times we just write them off and don't pay them no attention and let them do what they want and think, oh, well, that's not our problem. And it end up becoming our problem. You see what I'm saying? When you do that, we do that, we're not helping these kids by not disciplining these kids. We're not helping these kids by allowing these kids to come to get away with the things that they're getting away with and not correcting them. And what we're actually doing, and we're going to see as we get into our next couple of points, we're actually putting them on the path of destruction. You have to know there's consequences for your action. And the best way to teach somebody that there's consequences for the action is a butt whooping. Because like I said, when I got caught stealing, I'll never forget what I was in sixth grade, and it was a pack of Reese's Pieces, a 6-pack of Reese's Pieces. I'll never forget that. And man, when that officer grabbed me by my coat, he said, "Come here, son, I need to talk to you." And the coat candy just fell on my coat. Oh my goodness. My heart, my dry, and I didn't even care. Honestly, the crazy part is I didn't even care about getting arrested and the going to juvenile. That's not what I was afraid of. I was afraid what was going to happen to me when I got home and my grandma and my uncle got a hold to me. But even more, I was afraid of the disappointment that my grandma was going to feel because of what I'd done. Because I was her good kid. Like, you know what I'm saying? All my other cousins and everything, they was always in the streets doing stuff they not supposed to. I was the good kid. You know what I'm saying? So for me to be the one doing that, I knew it was going to break her heart. You know what I'm saying? My grandma used to do all kind of, like, she used to wake up, because if she didn't wake up early, she would oversleep. So she didn't have to be up. I mean, she didn't have to be at all. She had no job. But she would get up at 4:30, 5:30 in the morning. I didn't have to be up at 6:30. She would get up at 5 o'clock just to make sure that I got up to get to school. You know what I'm saying? She always bent over backwards to make sure I had what I needed to be successful, and then I went out and did something like that. You see what I'm saying? And that showed, and then that made me think that, man, I didn't respect it. Because see, this is what it's talking about, the fear of God. Like, when you hear about the fear of God, that don't mean that you're quaking in your boots. Oh, I'm scared God gonna hit me with a lightning bolt because I just, did this thing. No, the fear of God is, man, I just messed up God's plan for my life. I knew I wasn't supposed to do that thing. I did that thing. It turned out bad. Now I can possibly ruin the plan that God had for my life. That's the fear of God. You know what I'm saying? Because if you read the Bible when Moses killed that Egyptian, if y'all remember, and they say he ran for fear. He didn't run for fear. He wasn't afraid of Pharaoh. Him and Pharaoh was like was brothers. You know what I'm saying? They grew up together. He wasn't afraid of Pharaoh. He was afraid that he messed up God's plan for his life. You see what I'm saying? But your kids won't have that fear of you like that if they don't believe that you love them. And they won't believe that you love them if you're not disciplining them like you're supposed to. These kids, that's what I'm telling y'all, stop judging these kids. You know what I'm saying? When y'all seeing these kids for years, I want to shake my head too. No, don't get me wrong. I want to shake my head too. But these kids are not doing that because they're evil. We haven't lost this generation. We just haven't loved this generation. That's why this generation is going the way it is. We haven't loved them. Nobody's giving them direction. There's no OGs anymore. There's nobody to say, hey, man, you don't need to go that route. Don't do that. Even though I tell people all the time, you know who kept me from selling drugs? The drug dealers. You know what I'm saying? They would tell me, man, I don't want to see you out here on this corner. If I see you out in the corner, we're going to have a problem. And it wasn't on some, oh, I don't want you to come taking my territory kind of thing. It was on some, man, I made this decision. I went the wrong way. I don't want you to fall in that path because you got more potential. You know what I'm saying? I never forget, I had some guys that I worked with, Eric and K9, with K9 and E1. You know what I'm saying? And they would take us home every night after work because we would work really late and then the buses wouldn't run. And I remember they sitting there, I remember one time, I'll never forget this, dude was sitting there bagging up, sacks of weed. He was selling weed at the time. And I don't know if he sold other things, but I know I saw him, and he bagging up sacks of weed, and he saw me looking. And he told me, look, man, he said, I see you over Stern. He said, I'm going to let you know right now, stay in school, bro. He said, I don't ever want to see you doing this. I said, I know it. And he told me, he said, man, I know I'm doing it. And it looked fabulous. He said, man, I hate that I have to do this. He said, I hate the fact that this is my life. He said, I would love to be where you are right now, still young and still got the opportunity to go to school to make something out of yourself. He said, man, I don't ever want to see you in this. See, we don't have that no more. Now you got the grown men encouraging the kids to do the stuff that they shouldn't be doing. And you got grown men that's the one that out there leading them down the wrong path. See, that's why these kids act like that. It's not because we hate them, or well, they think we hate them because we never loved them. We haven't lost them. We just haven't loved them. I had, matter of fact, a perfect example of it. Y'all know I was in Texas last week. That's why y'all saw it was a different scenery if you look at my video last week. I was in Texas. I kind of said that I really don't like telling people when I travel. I'm not like these folks to get on Facebook like, hey, traveling here. You know what I'm saying? Now, I posted like I did Saturday on my way back because I'm on my way home. But I don't like people to know, especially because I was gone the whole week. I left last Sunday and I didn't get back to Saturday. So I was gone the whole week. I didn't want people to know I was gone. You know what I'm saying? So I was in Texas, but no matter where I go, I told y'all, 3 things I do every day. I read my Bible every day. I pray every day. I look for opportunity to tell people about the Lord every day. So even though I was in Saturday, I was in Texas, I still went soul winning. And what I did, I found a project near my hotel, because my hotel was right by the airport. So I just Googled projects near me, and I found a set of project apartments. Oh, dude, I didn't know you was in Texas, man. I was in Houston. I don't know what part of Texas you was in, but I was in Houston. So I don't know where you was at. But yeah, I was in Houston all last week. I wish I would have knew that. If you close enough, I could have rolled to you. Because I actually went down to College Station and hung out there a couple of times. I got a buddy that goes to Texas A&M. So, and I'm way too old for that, so I will never do that again. But anyway, so I'm down there and I went and found the project, and it just so happened to be the project. You in Houston? Oh, dude, I'm upset now. That's where I was at. I was there for a whole week last week, man. I'm sorry. Well, like I said, I don't like to let people know, so there was no way I knew you was down there. But I wish I knew you down there, man. I could definitely would have came and visited. That would have been a blessing. I didn't even know that, so I apologize about that. But next time, I usually go like once a year, so next time I'm down there, I definitely hit you up. So back to the story. Troy, stop interrupting me. Now I'm just messing with you. So what happened was I went out to the projects. Like I said, I went over to the projects to go soul when just so happened to be the projects right across. And that's weird. The Texas Southern is basically in the middle of the project. It's like a project and then the street and then Texas Southern University, which is crazy. So I go over there, go soul winning. And it turns out, you know what I'm saying, because I only had like an hour before my flight that I had to get to the airport for my flight. So I got an hour and I prayed to the Lord, guide me to where I need to be. So I can make use. I only got an hour to do this, so I want to make sure I make good use of my time. And some just hit me like, hey, go over to the basketball court, because there's always a group of teenagers over at the basketball court. Every project I go to, if it's like during the daytime, it's usually some teenagers there. And I went over there and lo and behold, a whole group of kids over there. Got to talking to a few of them and a couple of adults, and they wasn't saved. So started going over the gospel with them. So as I'm going, first it started off, it was 3 guys talking to them. So I'm out going over the gospel with them. Another group of kids walk up. You know what I'm saying? Then another group walk up. So I'm out there and I'm preaching like a big old group of kids. So out of the, it was probably 10, 12. Out of the 10, 12, 5 got saved. So the other ones, I'm trying to talk to them like, you know what I'm saying, what's going on? And one of the boys like, oh man, don't worry about him, man. He got a demon in him. And I'm like, what? Like, oh yeah, he got a demon in him. And I talked to the little kid, like, man, what's going on with him? He said, oh man, I ain't trying to hear that preach. You can't save me. I said, well, honestly, I know I can't save you. I don't save you. It's Jesus save you. And he's like, man, Jesus can't even save me. That's the mentality of our kids. That's why our kids is because nobody's loved that kid. I can tell that kid has never been loved before. You know what I'm saying? He said, Jesus can't save me. You know why he feel like that? Because he's never known love. You see what I'm saying? So that is the problem with our kids. We don't love our kids, and we tell them that we don't love them by not disciplining them. And see, that's what happened with Eli's kids. Eli's kids didn't think he loved them. That's why they did the things they did. You see what I'm saying? This is why they think that they are undisciplined. They have no discipline. They have no morals. You know what I'm saying? When your kids are throwing a tantrum in the middle of the store, you need to spank their butt. Now, if you don't want to do it at home, I mean, at the store, I understand, because they got cameras and stuff now. If somebody gets you on the phone, next thing you're in jail. But when they get to their house, they should know it's a butt whooping waiting for them in the house. But you know why they throw a tantrum in the store and embarrass you like that? Because they know when they get to the house, ain't nothing going to happen. And 9 times out of 10, you can give them exactly what they was throwing a tantrum about. See there, when you do that, you tell that kid right then and there that you hate them. You know what I'm saying? I know I had a situation. I might have shared the story for y'all before, but it's so applicable to this situation. So, like I told you, I've always spanked my kids. If you did something, not just, oh, dad had a bad day, you're going to get a butt whooping. But if you did something, what I consider butt whooping worthy, you got a butt whooping. So, y'all know I got custody of my younger brother. He's 14. When I got him, he was only 8. You know what I'm saying? And one of the big things, like with DCS, you start going through like foster parent and all that classes, you cannot touch that kid. And the problem with that is the kid knows. They tell the kid, hey, they can't touch you. If they spank you anything, let us know. Report it, kind of thing. So you got this kid that might have all kind of discipline problems, all kind of trouble problems, you know what I'm saying, coming to your house, and they know that you can't do nothing to them. All you can do, the most you can do is put them on timeout or something. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of power for a kid to have. So this happened about 8 years ago. Honestly, this almost tore my family apart. So I get my little brother. My little brother, of course, DCS got him. My dad and his mom still on drugs real bad. So, you know what I'm saying, I get custody of my little brother, bring him to my house, right? And of course, that's one of the main things. You can't spank him. You can't spank him. So he came in, and this kid, I mean, he had a lot of issues. When I got him, he had failed the first grade because they had held him out, or because he got suspended so much for fighting or getting in trouble at school that he basically got kicked out of school, out of elementary school. You know what I'm saying? He was on Adderall. He was on some other kind of psychotropic drugs. He was on all kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So he comes to our house, and for like the first year, I did my best to do the whole, well, I did. I not do the whole spanking thing. And the problem with it was he was doing stuff that he should have got his butt whooped. You know what I'm saying? But I had to let it slide because, you know, his caseworker was coming by all the time. We had all these meetings to go to. So if at any point he said, hey, he spanked me, I'm going to jail kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? They're definitely going to take him out the house and I'm going to jail, and I really wanted to help him. You know what I'm saying? So this went on about 1.5 years. And the problem was because I wasn't spanking him, it wasn't right for me to spank my kids. So I'm telling y'all, man, my house got buck for about 1.5 years. My house got buck wild. You know what I'm saying? Because I was no longer spanking my kids. Because I couldn't spank my kids if I'm letting him get away with stuff and I can't spank him. You know what I'm saying? And it got to the point my kids got mouthy. They was talking back. You know what I'm saying? Breaking rules. And you know what I'm saying? And me and my wife talk. I'm like, you know what? I can't do this no more. I can't do this. So what we did, we have what we call a family meeting. And my kids, they get nervous when I call a family meeting. Because when I call a family meeting, that means somebody been messing up and it's about to be some butt whooping. Usually the family meeting ends with everybody getting the butt whooping. Like, it's happened several times. You know what I'm saying? So I called a family meeting. And I told Zach, you know, my brother, his name is Zach, and I told him, I brought him, and I put him in the front. And I said, today, I told him, I said, this meeting's about you. I said, let me ask you something. I said, you've been with us over 1 year or something. Now, you see how our family operates, and you see how we do. I said, now, do you feel that we love you? And I asked him, I said, do you feel, I don't want you to say just what you got. I said, do you feel that we love you? He said, yeah. I said, well, do you love us? He said, yeah. I said, do you want to stay in our house or do you want to go to another family? He said, no, I want to stay with y'all. I said, are you sure about that? He said, yes. I said, now the reason why I'm bringing this up is like, I can no longer do this thing that DC is talking about. Like, you have been acting crazy, you've been acting wild, and you're getting out of hand. And I'm not going to allow my house to go in the direction that it's going because it's heading to a rebellion. I said, so you need to make the decision tonight if you want to be a part of this family. And the reason being, because from this point forward, if you decide you want to be a part of this family, this one thing about this family is we give out butt whoopings. So I said, from this point forward, if you do something that's worth a butt whooping, you're going to get a butt whooping. I said, so you have the choice to go tell your DCS worker if you want to, and they can go and take you out on another family and put you, oh, well. But if from this moment on, if you get up tomorrow to sleep on it, and if you get up tomorrow and decide that you want to be a part of this family, then you accepting the contract that from this point on, you're going to get a butt whooping. He said, yes. I said, all right. And it wasn't even a couple of weeks later where he did some and he got his butt tore up. And he did something again, and he got his butt tore up, and he saw one playing. And y'all don't know my brother, but it's the several people that know him. And like even his DCS worker, by the time I fought, because he was with us about almost 3 years before we finally got custody of him. And the DCS worker told me one day, she made the come, she said, my goodness, he's a whole different kid. Like, what did you do? I couldn't tell him a secret, but I was like, man, just loved him. But that's what I did. All that kid needed was some stability. He needed, first of all, he needed God in his life. He didn't know anything about God, and he needed God in his life. He needed some stability, somebody that actually paid attention to him and held him accountable for his actions, and he needed a butt whooping. And y'all, within a year of being at our house, this kid was the #1 kid in the student. He was like, I think he was like something like 2 levels above everybody as far as like reading and grades. He was like the valedictorian of the class. He's never been in trouble once at school other than talking. Now, he is a bit of a talker, you know what I'm saying? So he got in trouble for talking. And not only that, After about a year and a half, his medicine ran out, and me and my wife, we didn't get it because they were like, well, if he don't get his medicine, he get out route and all that. No, so when his medicine ran out, we didn't refill his prescription. He hasn't been on medicine since he's been with us almost 6 years now, and he hasn't been on medicine for 5 of them, and one of the top students in the class. Why? Because he got that butt whooping. Because he got love. He knew he was loved. That book whooping shows them that I love you. So when your child is doing something, they're crying out to you. When you see these children in these streets acting the fool, they're crying out to us, love me. You know what I'm saying? Somebody stop me. Somebody give me some borders. Somebody give me some structure. Somebody guide me in the direction I need to go. And when we don't do that, I'm sorry, I got a little gnat flying around here. And when we don't do that, we tell them kids that we don't love them, and therefore they fear, since I'm not loved anyway, I might as well be hated. And that's why they do the things they do. You see what I'm saying? Because they're acting out because they're looking for love. So again, these kids are doing what they're doing. Look at what this man did. He said they're seducing the women, the young women who assisted at the entrance of the tabernacle. And the thing I understand, most of the women that assisted in the tabernacle were virgins. So these are the preacher's kids. No, the priests who were supposed to be virgin themselves unless they was married, and they were seducing the virgin that was helping at the temple. Why? Because they wouldn't love. Because their daddy knew what they were doing, and he didn't do nothing about them. He didn't do nothing about it. So number 10 is this. When you hate your children, you will not discipline your children. That's why it says, and again, 13:4, the man that spread the rod hated his son. And also it says another one. Because I'm talking about this foolishness, and we see in these kids in this foolishness, and the other one from is 22:15, and it basically kind of says the same thing. 22:15 says, foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction will drive it far from him. We're born with foolishness in our heart. We're born with that even in our heart, but a good butt whooping will take it out. And I saw it with that kid. Like I said, to this day, people will tell anybody that knew that kid when we first got him, like people from our church have said it, the DCS workers have said it, you know what I'm saying? Even family members said it. They're like, man, he's a completely different child. Why? Because he's been loved over these last 6 years. And you know he's loved because he's had some butt whooping. So that's what's going on with our kids today. They're out in these streets. They're not lost. They're just not loved. Because there's nobody out there disciplining them or correcting them or try to guide them in the right direction. So number 10, again, when you hate your children, you will not discipline your children. So if you're not disciplining your children out here acting a fool, and you're not spanking their butt, you're telling that child that you don't love them. So I'm sorry, y'all. And the reason why I know I didn't intend to take that long on that point, but like I said, that's basically the main idea of this whole lesson is that we got to discipline our children. We got to get back to discipline our children. I can't tell you how many times me and my buddies like, man, I wish we can just get a van, rent a van, and just ride around and snap kids out the corner, spank their butts, and just, take them back. But you can't do this day because they might shoot you. You ride up on the kid, one of these kids today, they're gonna pull a Draco on you. You don't want those problems. That belt ain't gonna stop them bullets. But if you don't discipline your children, you don't love them. And that's why our kids are the way they are now. They don't feel love because there's nobody that corrects them. There's nobody that know what they're doing. See them standing on the corner selling dope. See them, robbing people and all that, and say nothing to them. You know what I'm saying? They don't feel love and they're acting out because of it. You know what I'm saying? So number 10, when you hate your children, you don't discipline your children. So then the next verse it says, and that's just the first verse. So the next verse says, now, he said he knew, for instance, that his sons were seducing the young women who assisted at the entrance of the tabernacle. And Eli said to them, I have been hearing reports from the people about the wicked things you are doing. So number 11 is this. This is one right here. This is a deep one right here. The Lord gave me this. I ain't thinking about this. But I've seen it before. I just never put it together until the Holy Spirit gave it to me. Number 11 is this. When you hate your children, others will